During the Harlem Renaissance, a movement arose known as Pan-Africanism. It sought to unify Native Africans and those of African heritage. At this time, it manifested itself in literature, philosophy, and later political movements towards African independence. The unity promoted by Pan-Africanism extended out of Africa and into the United States, where it helped African Americans unite against the terror and violence to fight for equality. This movement also helped to inspire self-awareness in African Americans through studying their own history and culture. Pan-Africanism is inspired by a concept known as MAFA, also called the African Holocaust, representing the 500 years of suffering of people of African heritage through slavery, imperialism, colonialism, invasions, oppression, and exploitation. After Reconstruction, this manifested into hostility against African Americans, such as lynching and the Jim Crow laws. Many prominent social and political leaders from across the world have embraced and helped to shape Pan-Africanism. As a product of the European slave trade, Pan-Africanism's earliest supporters date back centuries. One such early supporter of the movement was Edward Wilmot Blyden. Born in 1832 in the African state of Liberia, Blyden would grow to become one of Pan-Africanism's most influential proponents. Blyden's call to diaspora Africans for a return to the motherland, which he considered to be Ethiopia, has been echoed by many black cultural leaders including Bob Marley, whose repeated use of Zionic imagery can be directly linked to Blyden's teachings. Blyden acted as the Secretary of State for Liberia and ran an unsuccessful bid for its presidency. However, it can be argued that his most important contribution came from his work of teaching English and Western subjects to Muslim youth, with the intent of building intercultural acceptance within the members of African races. Shortly after Blyden's time, there rose another champion of Pan-Africanism. Marcus Garvey, born in 1887 in Jamaica, has been labeled a father of the movement and a religious prophet by the Rastafari. Garvey founded many institutions during his time, including the Universal Negro Improvement Association, or UNIA, as well as his own army, which he outfitted with weaponry and uniforms. His army's mission was to run off the white invaders of Africa. Like Blyden and many other supporters of Pan-Africanism, Garvey issued a call for the formation of an African state. In his essay entitled "The Negro's Greatest Enemy," Garvey states that, "We believe that black people should have a country of their own, where they should be given the fullest opportunity to develop politically, socially, and industrially. Black people should not be encouraged to remain in white people's countries and expect to be presidents, governors, mayors, senators, congressmen, judges, and social and industrial leaders." Another leader of the Pan-African movement was W.E.B. Du Bois. In 1900, Du Bois attended the first Pan-African Congress held in London and was elected its vice president. He subsequently began other Pan-African Congresses across the globe and was eventually elected chairman of the 5th Pan-African Congress in Manchester, England. Du Bois' ideas of Pan-Africanism influenced his politics greatly. In 1934, Du Bois left the NAACP because of irresolvable differences between his desire for black-controlled institutions and the NAACP's commitment to integration. Du Bois eventually took residence in Ghana in the 1960s at the request of its prime minister in order to lead the writing of the Encyclopedia Africana.
It is widely argued that the Harlem Renaissance is a defining moment in African American literature due to an unprecedented outburst of creative activity among black writers. The importance of this movement is defined by its focus upon the heritage of African Americans as well as the utilization of their unique culture to redefine African American literary expression. Within this movement, many artists wrote literature relating to negritude. Negritude, according to Abiola Ariel's Negritude, Literature and Ideology, is the cultural parallel of Pan-Africanism. She sums it up as being, quote, "First, a psychological response to the social and cultural conditions of the colonial situation, and secondly, as a fervent quest for new and original orientation." The word negritude was created by the Martinique poet Césaire in his famous work, Black Orpheus. He writes, "An ode to those who have invented neither powder nor compass, those who have tamed neither gas nor electricity, those who have explored neither seas nor the skies. My negritude is not a rock, its deafness hurled against the clamor of the day. My negritude is not a thing of the dead, water on the dead eye of the earth. My negritude is not a film of dead water on the dead eye of the earth. My negritude is neither a tower nor a cathedral. It plunges into the burning flesh of the earth. It plunges into the burning flesh of the sky. It pierces the opaque prostration by its upright patience. Negritude is reflected in African American literature through three major themes: alienation, revolt, and rediscovery. It centers on, quote, the Negro predicament of having been forced by historical circumstances into a state of dependence upon the West, considered the master society and the dominating culture. According to Suzanne Valenti's article, The Black Diaspora, Negritude in the Poetry of West Africans and Black Americans, negritude, quote, begins with a recognition, a consciousness of blackness, then proceeds to an acceptance in which blackness is praised. The qualities of blacks are elaborated, a heritage is created, the plight of black is described, and white values and civilization are belittled. Two works which exhibited tremendous influence upon Harlem Renaissance literature were Alan Locke's The New Negro, as well as James Weldon Johnson's The Book of American Negro Poetry. John Carroll argues that with such greater possibilities for artistic self-determination, the writers of the Harlem Renaissance produced a sizable body of work, often exploring these themes of alienation, revolt, and rediscovery. Writers such as Hughes, Hurston, Larson, and Toomer relied upon the rich folk traditions such as oral culture, folk tales, black dialect, jazz, and blues composition to create unique literary forms. Other writers such as Cullen, McKay, and Helen Johnson wrote in traditional styles or mediums that they hoped would capture the growing urbanity and sophistication of African Americans. Such a variance in style and technique is a reflection of the diverse atmosphere of the period, as well as the various influences of early leaders such as Garvey, Locke, and Du Bois. An example of negritude can be found in the works of Langston Hughes. Quote, Hughes refused to differentiate between his personal experience and the common experience of Black America. He intended to portray African Americans through a means that reflected their culture, including both their suffering and their love of music, laughter, and language itself. See here in his poem, I Too Sing America, his exploration of theme of the alienation. I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes. But I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody'll dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. In his poem Negro, Hughes explores his identity as a black man. I am a Negro. Black as the night is black. Black like the depths of my Africa. I've been a slave. Caesar told me to keep his doorsteps clean. I brush the boots of Washington. I've been a worker. Under my hand, the pyramids arose. I made mortar for the Woolworth building. I've been a singer. All the way from Africa to Georgia, I carried my sorrow songs. I made ragtime. I've been a victim. The Belgians cut off my hands in the Congo. They lynch me still in Mississippi. I am a Negro. Black as the night is black. Black like the depths of my Africa. After the Harlem Renaissance, Pan-Africanism continued to shape the trajectory of Black life for the next quarter century, spurring both the African independence movement and the civil rights movement. Obviously, it has had a heavy hand in recent African American history and should not be forgotten as we move forward.